Respected viewers, dear family of dreamers, I welcome you with a warm heart and a quiet mind wherever you're watching from tonight. I honor the journey that brought you here, every fear you've carried, every victory you've earned, every silent prayer you never told anyone about. Take a breath, let the noise of the world lower, and let's walk into this moment together. For the next few seconds, listen closely. There comes a moment in every person's life when destiny whispers, not loudly, not with fireworks, but softly, like a warning hidden inside a blessing. A moment when the world shakes just enough to remind you that fortunes are built not in comfort, but in storms. And sometimes the signs are subtle. An inflation spike here, a currency collapse there, and suddenly the quiet world you knew begins to tremble under your feet. That's where we stand today. Inflation rising like a relentless tide, the yen carry trade unraveling like a thread pulled too far, and economists warning that a massive market bubble may be preparing to finally pop, not in panic, but in truth, in reality, in the kind of sober clarity that separates the timid from the prepared. My beloved listeners, you and I have seen enough cycles to know that the world doesn't break without first sending signals. I've seen people ignore those signals and lose everything. And I've seen people recognize them, shift their mindset, and rise higher than they ever dreamed. Let me take you back for a moment. Years ago, long before headlines screamed of global crashes, I knew a man who invested every dollar he could scrape together. Not because he was wealthy. No, because he was tired of being ruled by fear. He worked a job he hated, lived in a rented room that smelled like old paint. Some nights he ate nothing but bread and tea because that was all he could afford. But he saved and he studied and he stayed patient while the world rushed past him. Then one year, a crash came. People panicked. Markets burned, and that man, instead of running, whispered to himself, "This is the moment I was preparing for." He didn't have much, but he had discipline. He didn't have connections, but he had courage. And slowly, painfully, faithfully, he built a future out of the ashes of other people's fear. Why am I telling you this? Because today's world is beginning to rhyme with those days. Inflation spiking again, eating into the savings of families who already feel stretched thin. The yen carry trade, once a quiet engine powering global risk, now collapsing under its own weight, sending tremors across markets from New York to Tokyo, and economists, analysts, seasoned investors, all warning that this time something deeper might be cracking beneath the surface. But here's the truth very few will tell you. Bubbles don't destroy wealth. They transfer it from the impatient to the patient, from the emotional to the disciplined, from the distracted to the awake. Right now, the world needs people who are awake, people like you. Because when inflation rises, people panic. When currencies shake, people retreat. When bubbles form, people gamble or flee. But investors, real investors, they do none of that. They watch, they listen, they study the rhythm of fear, and they move with intention, not emotion. You may be thinking, but what can I do when the world is unstable, when prices rise, when markets threaten to crash? And the answer, my friends, is always the same. You build yourself before you build your wealth. A shaky mind cannot navigate a shaky market. A fearful heart cannot recognize opportunity. A distracted soul cannot see the turning of economic tides. I've witnessed countless people lose not because they lack money, but because they lack patience, vision, and emotional discipline. They wanted wealth without building the character required to hold it. Let's be honest, some of you watching tonight have been afraid for a long time, afraid of making the wrong move, afraid of losing what little you have, afraid of stepping into a world that feels bigger than your knowledge. But let me tell you something from the depth of my experience. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to be the person who refuses to quit on their financial future. Inflation may rise, currencies may collapse, markets may shake, but your mindset, your discipline, your vision, these are the only assets that never lose value. As we move deeper into this unfolding global storm, I want you to remember one thing. Every great fortune in history was built during chaos. Every empire of wealth began in uncertainty. Every investor who made it first learned to endure the moments when everything felt like it was falling apart. And right now, in this moment, you are living in one of those moments. Take it seriously. Take it personally. Because destiny does not wait for the hesitant. It rewards the bold. We'll go deeper, much deeper, into the yen carry collapse, the inflation spike, and the warning signs economists are whispering about. But first, settle your spirit. Let the fear drain out of your shoulders, because what we're about to explore isn't just news, it's your awakening. You see, whenever the world enters a phase like this, a phase filled with rising prices, collapsing currencies, and whispers of an impending bubble, people instinctively look outward. They look at governments, at central banks, at news headlines, at social media panic. But almost no one pauses long enough to look inward. And yet, that is where all wealth truly begins. Let's slow down for a moment. I want to take you into the heart of what's happening, not just in the world, but in the psychology of millions. When inflation rises, it doesn't simply make groceries more expensive. It does something deeper. It quietly erodes confidence. It steals the feeling of safety from a family's home. And with that comes something even more dangerous, emotional decisions. When the yen carry trade collapses, economists talk about volatility, liquidity leverage, macro pressure, but behind those technical words, there are real people whose entire futures shift with every tick of a chart. People who borrow low and invest high suddenly find the floor collapsing beneath them. Banks tighten, institutions panic, and the shockwaves ripple into markets you and I depend on every single day. But here's the part most viewers never hear. Crashes don't start in markets, they start in minds. Fear builds, doubt spreads, confidence fractures, and suddenly a bubble that once floated quietly above the world begins to tremble under the weight of collective anxiety. I want you to picture something. There was once a small business owner I knew, let's call him Daniel. He had survived 3 downturns, 2 recessions, and 1 market crash so violent it wiped out half his savings overnight. But a strange thing happened during each crisis. Daniel didn't shrink, he didn't freeze. He didn't let panic dictate the blueprint of his decisions. He had a rule, a simple, powerful rule. Whenever the world became chaotic, he would say, I will not act emotionally, I will only act strategically. So while others sold in fear, he studied. While others hoarded cash, he positioned himself. While others blamed the world, he adjusted his mindset. And you know what happened? He came out of each downturn stronger than before. Not because he was lucky, not because he was smarter, but because he understood one timeless truth. In every crisis, someone inherits the future. And that someone is always the person who remains emotionally stable when everyone else is emotionally exhausted. Now let's tie this back to today. The inflation spike, it's real, it's painful. The yen carry collapse, it's not just a chart, it's a warning. Economists saying a bubble might pop, they're not being dramatic, they're being observant. But none of this means disaster for you. Not if you are prepared, not if you build your strategy now, not if you commit to patience, discipline, and long-term thinking. Let me tell you something that may surprise you. The people who win during chaotic times aren't the ones with the most money. They are the ones with the most calm, the ones who can sit with uncertainty without breaking, the ones who can look at a falling market and whisper, this is temporary. My vision is not, because the bubble, if and when it pops, is simply the world clearing away noise so true investors can finally see clearly again. There's something deeply spiritual about wealth building. It's not just numbers, it's not just charts. It's a dance between patience and opportunity, between fear and courage, between who you are and who you must become. And right now, in this moment, life is asking something of you. Will you choose fear or will you choose focus? Will you follow panic or will you follow purpose? Will you shrink or will you rise? Because whether inflation climbs or falls, whether the yen stabilizes or shakes again, whether the bubble pops tomorrow or next year, your success will be determined not by the market, but by your mindset. Let that truth settle into your soul for a moment. There is a reason you're listening to this message tonight. There is a reason your heart feels the weight of this moment. And there is a reason your spirit is seeking clarity before the next big shift. It means you're ready to understand the game behind the game, ready to think differently, ready to face the uncertainty of the world with wisdom instead of fear. And as we step deeper into this unfolding storm, something remarkable starts to happen. The truth about wealth, fear, and opportunity becomes clearer than ever before. Because every major financial shift in history has arrived with people panic in the streets and silence in the minds of those who are prepared. You see, when inflation spikes and currencies collapse, most people hear only one. The ones who survive, the ones who grow, they hear chaos, they see meaning in chaos. They recognize that markets don't fall to destroy you. They fall to expose you a building without a foundation. And this is where the real test of financial character begins. Because the next bubble, whether it pops slowly or shatters overnight, will not just break portfolios. It will set with the dreamers who only wish from the dreamers to build. I remember meeting a man once, mid-50s, tired-eyed, hands left from labor. He told me he spent his whole life waiting for the present to invest. Every year he waited, inflation quietly stole a little more of his future. I'll start next year, he said. But next year took 20 years to arrive. And when he finally wanted to build something, the market didn't ask for his excuses. It asked only one question. Were you there? Not did you know the right people? Not did you read enough books? Not even were you lucky? Just were you there? Because wealth is not built in the moment when everyone sees the opportunity. It is built in the uncomfortable, uncertain, terrifying moments when you act even though the world is shaking. This is why mindset matters more than money. Because money without discipline is like a car without a steering wheel. It moves, but it crashes. And discipline without vision is like a map with no destination. You walk, but you never arrive. Right now, as inflation rises and the yen trembles, the markets are whispering a warning, but also an invitation. If you listen carefully, you'll hear both. The warning says, be humble, be cautious, respect the storm. The invitation says, do not hide, do not wait, prepare yourself. But let me tell you something deeper, something most investors never understand. Wealth is not created in the buying or the selling. It is created in the waiting, in the willingness to stand firm when others run, in the patience to hold when fear is loudest, in the courage to study when others scroll, in the discipline to invest when others panic. Markets reward the soul that is steady, not the hands that shake. And if a bubble is truly forming, and if it truly pops, the aftermath will not be the end of your journey, it will be the beginning. Because every bubble that bursts cleans the stage for a new era of wealth. All you need is to live long enough financially to witness it. So ask yourself, not with fear, but with honesty. If the market collapsed tomorrow, would I be broken or would I be ready? Would you be the person who loses everything because they chase noise, or the person who rises because they built slowly, quietly, intelligently? The answer to that question is not written in the economy. It is written in your habits, your discipline, your learning, your willingness to act with intention instead of emotion. Because no inflation spike, no currency crash, no bubble pop can defeat a person whose foundation is built on knowledge, patience, and long-term vision. And as we enter this final stretch of the message, the storm on the horizon becomes clearer, not darker. Because the truth is, the greatest danger in the financial world is not inflation, not the yen collapse, not even a massive bubble getting ready to burst. The greatest danger is sleepwalking through it, moving through life without awareness, building without understanding, investing without intention, following trends without knowing why. Most people don't lose money because the market is cruel. They lose it because their mindset is unprepared. But you're here listening, learning, choosing to awaken when most people are still asleep, and that alone puts you ahead of millions. Now, let's talk about something deeper, something people avoid because it forces them to face their truth. Your financial life will always reflect your inner life. If you are impatient on the inside, your investments will be impulsive. If you are fearful on the inside, your decisions will be defensive. If you are inconsistent on the inside, your wealth will be unstable. If you are lost on the inside, your financial direction will always drift. But if you cultivate clarity, discipline, purpose, your money will begin to move with the same energy. Because wealth is not just numbers, it is a vibration, a state of mind, a discipline of the soul. Let me share with you a small but powerful story. A young investor once came to me trembling with fear because his portfolio was down 30%. He thought his journey was over. He thought he'd failed. But I asked him only one question. Did you invest with understanding or with excitement? He lowered his head, with excitement. And that was his turning point, not because he lost money, but because he finally understood the real game. The market doesn't punish you for losing. It punishes you for not learning. Losses are not the enemy. They are your tuition fee, paid to the greatest teacher in the world. Now let's bring this back to our moment right now. Inflation is rising, currencies are trembling, the global system is shaking in quiet ways most people cannot see. But this is not a moment of fear. This is a moment of audit. An audit of who you are, an audit of what you believe, an audit of whether you have the courage to prepare for the next chapter. Because make no mistake, the next chapter is coming. Whether it brings a bubble pop, a correction, or a full reset, only one type of person will come out stronger. The one who builds quietly before the noise begins. The one who studies when others gossip. The one who saves when others flaunt. The one who invests with purpose, not pressure. The one who sees wealth as a long-term destiny, not a short-term thrill. And maybe the most important truth of all, you don't rise because the market rises. You rise because you rise your habits, your discipline, your courage, your vision. These are the engines of your financial destiny, not the headlines, not the fear, not the temporary chaos. So if the bubble pops, let it pop. If the yen collapses, let it collapse. If inflation spikes, let it spike. Because storms don't break mountains. They only test if the mountain is real, and you are becoming that mountain, steady, committed, unshakable. And now, beloved listeners, as we stand at the end of this journey, take a moment, breathe, feel everything you've learned settle gently into your mind. We've walked through the storm of inflation. We've witnessed the trembling of the yen. We've faced the possibility of a bubble ready to burst. But more importantly, we've walked through the storm within ourselves. Because the real story was never about the markets, it was about you. Your courage, your awakening, your willingness to grow, your refusal to live the same financial life as yesterday. You see, wealth is not a race. It is not a competition. It is not a desperate dash for survival. Wealth is a journey of becoming wise, becoming patient, becoming the kind of person who can carry abundance without breaking under its weight. And as the world shifts, with its inflation scares, currency collapses, and market bubbles, remember this. You are not here to fear the storm. You are here to rise above it. Every crisis is an invitation. Every correction is a teacher. Every bubble that pops clears space for something greater. And while millions chase shortcuts, you are choosing the long path, the path of vision, the path of purpose, the path of inner peace. So let the world shake. Let the headlines roar. Let the market move however it wants. Because your foundation, your discipline, your mindset, these are unshakable. And they will guide you into a future of clarity, abundance, and calm confidence. As you walk forward from this moment, carry this quiet truth with you. Your wealth will grow in the same direction your soul grows. Feed it with purpose, and it will reward you with peace. Thank you for walking this journey with such depth and heart. May your path be steady, your vision be clear, and your financial destiny unfold with grace, strength, and an unshakable belief in the future you are becoming.